Here's the truth the industry doesn't want you to know. Every month, 95% of you accept contracts with a hidden legal flaw that quietly costs you $10,000 or more. You delay, they chip away at your income. By year's end, that's a five-figure mistake left on the table. Stop letting this happen. Together, I'll show you exactly what this hidden enemy is and how to defeat it, starting right now. Before we dive in, I want to be crystal clear. I'm a financial educator, not a licensed financial advisor. The ideas we talk about here are for educational purposes, to help you build awareness and ask better questions. This isn't personalized financial advice, so please always consult with a qualified professional for your unique situation. Okay, let's get into it. So what is this hidden enemy? It isn't a line of fine print, not at first. It's a belief. A deep-seated conflict that lives inside so many of us as creatives. It's the idea that our art, our craft, is pure. And that business, the commerce side of things, is something separate, something a little dirty, or at the very least, something we're just not wired for. We tell ourselves stories. I'm a photographer, not a salesperson. I'm a musician, not a negotiator. We build this invisible wall between the creator and the CEO that must coexist within each of us. This mental separation is the root of the problem. Because when that exciting new project contract lands in your inbox, you see it as a necessary but unpleasant hurdle to get back to the real work, the creating. The business side feels like an uncomfortable distraction. So we rush. We skim, we agree to terms we don't fully understand because we're so focused on protecting the integrity of the art that we forget to protect the artist, you. This mindset makes us vulnerable. It's the crack in the foundation that allows those unfavorable clauses to slip by, the ones that systematically drain value from your work. So how do we tear down that wall between the creator and the CEO? What if the solution isn't a modern business school hack, but a timeless principle that has empowered artisans and makers for centuries to not only create great work, but to build lasting wealth from it? This timeless principle isn't about profit margins or market share. It's a concept that's as old as the first artisan who traded a well-made pot for a bag of grain. I call it the not principle of equitable exchange, profitability. At its heart, it's deceptively simple. The value you receive should be in direct, fair proportion to the value you create. But here is where we, as creatives, get it wrong. We mistakenly define our value by the hours we spend or the physical thing we deliver. A 1-hour photo shoot, a 3-minute song, a 5,000-word article. We see the artifact, but we don't see the architecture behind it. An equitable exchange demands that we account for the entirety of our value. That includes the decade of practice it took to make that complex lighting setup look effortless. It includes the unique emotional resonance your voice brings to a track, something no one else can replicate. It includes the intellectual property, the future life of your creation, and the very real commercial impact your work will have on your client's business. Their success is built, in part, on the value you are providing. When you see a contract not as a hurdle, but as the formal agreement that defines this exchange, its importance becomes profound. It is the tool that ensures the scales are balanced. If you don't understand the full weight of what you're putting on your side of the scale, you will always accept less than what you're worth. The other party is almost always acutely aware of the value they're getting. The hidden enemy thrives in that information gap. Adopting this principle isn't about becoming a ruthless negotiator. It's about practicing a form of professional self-respect. It's about honoring the time, the struggle, and the unique genius that you pour into your craft. It transforms the act of business from a source of anxiety into an act of stewardship for your own creative energy. Because when the exchange is equitable, you have the resources, the time, the money, the peace of mind to continue creating your best work. You build a sustainable career, not just a series of gigs. I know this idea of total value can feel a bit abstract when you're staring at a PDF full of legal jargon. So to make this principle tangible, Let's use an analogy from a world we all understand intimately, the world of building and creating itself. Think of it this way. Imagine you're a master architect commissioned to design a dream home. You wouldn't just sketch a pretty facade and tell the builders to figure it out. Of course not. You would pour yourself into the blueprint. You'd meticulously map out the foundation, the load-bearing walls, the unseen systems that allow the beautiful design to be not just possible, but safe, functional, and lasting. That blueprint type is your contract. We often treat our contracts like an inconvenient formality we have to get through to start the real creative work. But the blueprint isn't separate from the building. It is the building in its most foundational form. A weak payment clause is a crack in that foundation. A vague section on intellectual property is faulty wiring, a hidden hazard that can burn you long after the project is complete. You would never compromise on the structural integrity of something you create. You'd see it as a core expression of your professional care and artistic vision. The blueprint is the promise that the value you envision is the value that gets delivered. So, if we know deep down that a solid foundation is non-negotiable for our creative work, how do we start treating the foundation of our careers with that same essential respect? It begins by changing the title you give yourself, not on your business card, but in your own mind. The shift is from seeing yourself as a passive artist to embracing the identity of a proactive, creative professional. That word, professional, isn't about becoming corporate or cold. It's about taking deliberate ownership. An artist creates. A creative professional builds a sustainable practice around that creation. They understand that the business framework, the contract, the negotiation, the financial planning, isn't a cage that restricts their art. It's the trellis that allows it to grow strong and reach its full potential. This isn't about becoming a different person. It's an expansion of your identity. You are still the musician, the writer, the designer. But you are Hummentich Paulus, the steward of that gift. You are the one responsible for creating the conditions under which your best work can be made. This means you stop outsourcing your power. You stop seeing the contract as someone else's document that you just have to sign, and you start seeing it as your document, a co-created agreement that reflects the equitable exchange. You move from being a passenger in your career to being the pilot at the controls. So, the shift is this. You stop waiting for the business side to be over, and you start treating it as the first, most crucial act of the creative process itself. The act of defining your value and charting the course for your work to enter the world with its integrity intact. With this new perspective firmly in place, let's bring it all together and summarize the blueprint you can use, starting today. So here is the blueprint in its simplest form. The hidden enemy isn't a clause in a document, it's a conflict within ourselves. The solution is to close that gap between the creator and the CEO. You do this by embracing the principle of equitable exchange, honoring the full value of your work, and by treating the business framework not as a burden, but as the foundational act that protects your creative energy. It's a shift from seeing yourself as just an artist to owning your power as a creative professional. This is a journey, and it starts with a single step. So I have a question for you. What's the biggest mental block you face when switching from creator mode to business mode? Share it in the comments below. You'll find you're not alone. And if you're ready to build a career as strong as your craft, make sure you subscribe. We're building this blueprint together.